JJK spoiler warning. Scroll away. Let's talk about Okkotsu's domain expansion. Infinite Blade Works, clearly an inspiration, but let me show you where my mind jumped immediately, and this is going to say a lot about me. The Keyblade Graveyard. Come on now, this was dope. I don't care who you are. I'm still too paranoid to post any panels from leaked chapters. I know people get away with it on here, posting the full thing, but after what happened to me, I'm not taking any chances. So sorry, y'all. We're going to have to theater of imagination. If you haven't seen Okkotsu's domain expansion, definitely look it up so you know what I'm talking about here. But I loved the aesthetic of it. And I do have a quick question for y'all. For anyone that knows a lot about knots, and I mean like knots that you like tie in a rope, right? I'm curious what the specific knot that is in Okkotsu's domain is. The one that's like strung along the top. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find the specific one that looked exactly like that. Just because I would like to, put on my analysis cap and try to decide what that symbolizes. But not knowing what the knot is, my guess is just that it symbolizes the connection between Okkotsu and Rika, especially since the domain itself is called True Love or some version of that. Still waiting on the best translation there. But let's just talk about this domain, okay? Okkotsu stocks are up. Not only does this man have a domain, which we already knew, but he also has the skill, the refinement to place someone else's curse technique in his domain. Now, a lot of people theorize that was possible, but actually seeing it in action is a whole other thing. Now, this is soft confirmation for me at least that Sukuna could use the Ten Shadows domain, and also Kenjaku, rest in peace, could have used the domains for any of the techniques he had, because while a domain is your innate domain, which is unique to you, brought into reality, your curse technique imbued into the barrier is what like finalizes and creates a domain expansion. And so we now know that you can put any of your curse techniques into that barrier. So this is just really cool like world building and expanding the lore here. And also just the brilliance of using Angel's Curse technique in Okkotsu's barrier here to force Sukuna to have Hollow Wicker Basket up at all times because he can never let that sure hit him. Okay, but now let's talk about these actual swords, because we know that Okkotsu has no limits on using the curse techniques that he's copied in this domain. I think each sword, of which there are hundreds scattered across that we see, represents a curse technique. Now, it might not be that like he needs to walk 45 feet to go get the one he wants necessarily, because I'm sure it doesn't work like that. But just like thematically, symbolically, I bet Okkotsu picks up a new sword like every time he's going to use a new curse technique. Now, the really interesting thing that I am wondering about is, could Okkotsu give that benefit to other people he chooses? Meaning, could we see Yuji pick up some of these swords and use curse techniques? I just think that would be amazing to see. It would be completely badass to just see Yuji wielding all of these techniques alongside Okkotsu, and both of them are just hammering into Sukuna from every which way. However, I don't necessarily see that happening, because we do know the plan has to revolve around the fact that Yuji has some soul stuff going on, right? And I wanted to speak on this because I've seen a lot of people, talking about different things about this, and totally fair. The rough translations are rough, so we don't know exactly what Sukuna said or what he meant. But a lot of people are saying, like, confirmed Yuji can hit the soul. Or Yuji can hit the soul. Well, we already knew Yuji could hit the soul. Like, that's nothing new. He knows the contours of the soul because he was Sukuna's vessel, right? He's been doing soul damage, like, for a very long time at this point. So that wouldn't be a revelation. That's nothing new, right? So to me, it's not just the fact that he can hit Sukuna's soul and, that's how they're going to save Megami. I think it's beyond that. I think it has something to do with stripping the two souls apart, and potentially has something to do with that Kusakabe Yuji panel where they seemingly switched bodies. Because if that was a soul swap or a soul manipulation in some form, then Yuji's stripping Sukuna away from Megami makes a whole lot more sense, right? Now, whatever it is with the soul thing that he's got going on, I think we now know that 3 or 4 chapters back, when Yuji first jumped in the fight and punched Sukuna, and Sukuna reacted some type of way about it, he was like, what was that? I think that was Yuji initially starting to use whatever it is he's doing. Now, again, maybe it's just that his punch did soul damage, but that shouldn't be a surprise to Sukuna. So I think it's more than that. But as always, I've been yapping for damn near 6 minutes here, so let me know y'all's thoughts. Did you like Okkotsu's domain expansion now that the initial hype is worn off? And what do you think Yuji's got going on here? What's the ultimate plan?